As a photographer, you're going to get fewer people saying yes to your offer if they don't know you first. So before you make an offer to a client, make sure you followed up with them and had multiple connection points with them first. I know it's a lot slower, but we do it because it works. So, what could these connection points be? Well, that's totally up to you and what works for you in your local market. But it's going to be anything at all where your dream clients become a little bit more familiar with you through some kind of interaction. So maybe it's seeing your work on social media, maybe it's chatting with you in their office or at an event, maybe it's a phone call with them or a text message that you send. Whatever it is, it's a connection point between you and this dream client. But it's not going to be pushing for a sale. All you're aiming for here is to move them like a little closer towards trusting you. And you do that by showing them your work, by having a conversation with them, by getting in front of them online or offline in whatever way you can. And again, there are so many different ways to do this. So the question then is, how many of these do you need to do? Look, there's no guaranteed amount that will lead to a yes, because that's just not how things work. Some clients might be willing to say yes after 3 or 4 engagements with you, and others might only say yes after dozens of engagements over 1 or 2 years. In a report a few years ago, Google found that when people had about 11 interactions with a business, they were a lot more likely to buy from that business. So what this is telling us is that the only way to really get through to your prospects is to be a familiar face that they know, like, and trust. So what you need to do, no matter how long it takes, is to look at what you can do to have multiple interactions with each prospect so that they know you and trust you and like you before you make an offer. So that's the follow-up stage. But before you get to follow-up, you're going to have to make that first connection with the prospect. So this is where they first hear about you or they first see some of your work. This is something that might happen by accident, where they just happen to come across your business through Google, or maybe someone in their office tells them about you. And we want to encourage those organic connections. But it's also something that you can be very deliberate about, and you could actively seek to build that very first connection with your dream clients. And again, how you do that is up to you. And there are a million different things that you can do. Just like with the follow-up stage, it could be an online engagement where they see your content on Instagram. It could be a Facebook ad where you're going for brand awareness. It could be a phone call to them where you introduce yourself, or it could be an office visit, or a letter in the mail, or a meeting at an event. What's important here is that you're very intentional about this goal of this first connection. A lot of photographers try and turn a first connection into a sale. And that's just like the guy in the bar asking every woman he meets, like, for their hand in marriage. It doesn't work. Really, all you might want to do with this first connection is to make sure they know who you are. Like, that's all. You don't need to really go any further than that. Because the rest of the stuff is what you'll do during the follow-up. All you need to do at this stage is to build a connection so they know who you are. Now, before you start connecting with people, there's something like super important that you must get right. Otherwise, all of your connecting and your follow-up work will go to waste. And that is, you need to work on your brand and position your business where you want it to be. And you need to do that before you start building connections. So thinking about your brand, if you want to be the budget photographer, then that's fine. Position yourself at the budget option and make sure your branding is consistent with that. If you want to be the expensive photographer who delivers high quality work, then your branding needs to be consistent with a high-end photographer. So by that I mean, look at your pricing, look at your website, your social media content, the places people can find you, your logo, the resources you've created to share with prospects when they contact you. Look at all of that and set it all up before you get into the marketing process. This is so important because if your branding is poor and if you're trying to connect with these prospects and you're trying to come across as a high quality photographer, but your website looks awful and your logo is just Times New Roman and nothing else, and your pricing is at the bottom end, then there's going to be a disconnect between brand and who you're trying to be, and clients can smell that from a mile off. They're just not going to buy it. Whereas if you've carefully designed every element of your brand, and if there's real consistency there in everything you do, then you're showing your prospects that you're the real deal. And again, a lot of photographers skip over this, but I think it's really important that you invest time into your brand and make sure it's congruent with where you want to be and the type of clients that you want to be working with. So to sum it up, marketing your business isn't just about writing a good email. Marketing is a journey where you walk alongside your prospect. And marketing is at its best when the different departments in your business are working in harmony to make your business irresistible to your dream clients. The more irresistible you become, the better your chances of that client saying yes. In fact, if you do this right, you won't even need to chase them or put an offer to them because they'll be chasing after you. And ultimately, that's really where you want to be. Like, imagine if those dream clients were coming to you and saying, hey, I've seen your work and I think you're just the kind of photographer we need. Now, that doesn't happen unless you're doing everything in these 5 stages, okay? So if a photographer asks me, how do I get more clients? Here's what I'd say, and it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've been doing this for 15 years, the process is the same. Have you got strong systems and processes in place? Have you got time to do this stuff? And have you got a clearly defined brand? If you've been doing this for years, but you don't yet have those things, then I'd suggest you go back to stage 1 and look at your systems and free up more time in your week. Then once you have more time, then do a review of your brand and make sure your brand and the way prospects perceive you is exactly where you want it to be. Now, that might be a big task that takes a while, but give yourself time to get that right because it's so important. Then, once you've got your brand settled, then here's what you need to do. Start identifying people you can connect with and find a way to get that first connection and do whatever works for you in your local market and in a way that is consistent with your brand and with your story. Okay, so once you've done that, then you'll follow up with them over and over again so they trust you, because when they trust you, they'll be much more likely to work with you. They'll be much more comfortable working with you or switching over from the current photographer over to you. Finally, we get to the 6th stage in this process, and that's where you make an offer to the prospects that you've had all of these interactions with. Now, what that looks like is completely up to you, but we're basically talking about an offer for them to either meet with you to talk about what you do for them, or it's a straight up offer to work with you with a clear call to action. Now, one final thing I will mention, if you need help to get more clients, then I've got a training program that includes pre-written marketing tools, social media training, business systems and time management, one-to-one coaching to help you implement it all, area exclusivity, and you can take a 30-day risk-free trial for $99 if you want to test it out. So you can find that all on my website. Hey, if you like that, then here's another video you might enjoy. Or if you'd like me to work with you on your business, then send me an email and ask about my coaching program, or send me any other questions you've got. Here's my email address, Daryl@builderphotographybusiness.com. Thanks again. I'll see you on the next one.